Hey, my name is Jared Moon, and I'm part of a group of underground athletes you've probably never even heard of before. We don't rely on fancy equipment for training, and most of us don't even have gym memberships. In fact, our motivation comes from within. You see, we have jobs, families, and responsibilities, but we still have big goals, and they aren't getting achieved at a Globo gym. For that reason, we have to do things differently. Our training has to be smarter. We don't have every piece of equipment known to man or a ton of time to train, and we don't need it, because we are achieving amazing things without it. So how do we do it? If you ask your average personal trainer or gym goer, they'd call us crazy. Yet we're seeing results better than most every single day. And it's happening by blending mental training with physical training and becoming an athlete. What we call and welcome to Garage Gym Athlete.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jared Moon here, and with me is Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey.
And welcome to Season 5 of the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm pretty pumped that we are already in Season 5, which seems ridiculous. Like, we're dropping faster than any Netflix season ever, and they only do, like, a couple episodes, and they wait, like, 2 years. Anyway, this is Season 5, and we are doing something really different. So Seasons 1 through 4, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, we've been interviewing athletes. So all of our athletes, people who've been hitting up our programming, we're taking a break from that this season because we really want to dive into a lot of these topics and areas of training and being a garage gym athlete that we don't normally get to dive as deep on when we're interviewing an athlete. So we're going to talk about a lot of things that can help you either better understand our training and programming or make you a better, more effective and efficient garage gym athlete. Today we're going to be talking about block programming, where it came from, why we do it, training efficiency, and structuring your training sessions. But before we do that, a new thing that we're introducing this season is some athlete highlights. So I'm going to throw that over to Joe and let him talk about some of our athletes and how amazing they are.
Yeah, so going through, and if you're in our group, if you're not, we're having a crap ton of PRs coming through, and some people we just want to highlight because their numbers are either ridiculous. You can tell they're really putting in the work, and it's across all tracks. So the first couple, Tony Allen his was really jumped out at me because not only did he set a 55-pound back squat PR, but it was not like he was new to lifting. He got all the way up to 395. So when you're an experienced lifter, those PRs usually come small. But that was huge. And he also added 20 pounds to his deadlift.
So he got to 395 on the squat, and that was how many pounds PR?
55.
55-pound PR. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Devin Payton added 40 pounds to his deadlift and 30 pounds to his back squat, so upper body and lower body, getting up to 355 on the deadlift. And then Shantae, I'm just going to say Shantae added 50 pounds to her back squat as well. So that's pretty huge. Even percentage-wise, that is a giant increase. And it always feels good to get those big PRs, but then when you start off the next cycle, you get that first batch of, hey, lift 70% of this, and you're like, dang it, this 70% is way harder than last time.
That's always the challenge. You like, even when you're pushing yourself, if you have like this long-term mindset, you're like, say you hit a PR and it's only 5 or 10 pounds, and you're like, I could probably go more, and you're like, do I really want to? Because I'm gonna have to PR that again in 12 weeks, or at least try to. So if you're not familiar, if you're not actually one of our athletes, you probably don't know. We test about every 12 weeks different lifts and different conditioning benchmarks that we have. And we send out, if you submit a video in our Facebook group, we send out the PR shirt. So Joe is actually wearing the PR shirt. He's going to show for all those watching on YouTube. So that is the PR shirt we send absolutely free to our athletes for putting in the work and getting a personal record following our programming. And we've sent hundreds and hundreds of these shirts now. It's a really cool thing that we do in our community. And if you get 5 PRs, we send out the red PR shirt. Pretty simple stuff, but really cool. Gets everyone fired up. I love seeing all the videos. We're going to highlight a bunch of athletes this entire season right at the beginning. And if you are one of those athletes, congratulations for putting in the hard work and getting it done. All right, so let's talk about block programming. I'll give a quick introduction about what block programming is. why you might want to use it. Either so we're kind of trying to gear this season in two different ways. So we know there are a lot of garage gym athletes who currently follow our programming and do our stuff every single day. So we want to help those athletes get a better understanding of what they have access to and how and why our training works. And then also those who are just actual garage gym athletes following some sort of programming, either their own or someone else's programming in their garage. They are a garage gym athlete nonetheless, to give you some ideas on how you could better structure your training, be more efficient, and some ideas that we're implementing that could help you. So we're really trying to help every type of garage gym athlete, whether you subscribe or not. And so that's what we're looking to do this season. So block programming, I have to take you on a journey all the way back to, I don't know, Joe, when was Accelerate, man? You were on Accelerate. Was that 2015 or 14? 15. It was right at the beginning. Yeah, it was right at the beginning of 2015. That was the first real 12-week cycle at Into 3 Fitness. We weren't even officially calling things Garage Gym Athlete yet. It was just, hey, here's a 12-week cycle of Accelerate at Into 3 Fitness. It's a 12-week program. And that's how I liked to program up to that point, was in 12-week batches, and we still do. And then the Accelerate has been a really awesome programming cycle, and it gets people a lot of results. It does a great blend of Louis Simmons' Westside Barbell Method with our own programming of how we like to do Metcons. Very effective in getting people a lot fitter in a 12-week period. And Joe could probably attest, I don't know from your experience, man, but the complaints, the only real complaints I got weren't about the programming when I put that together. It was, dude, this is taking me so long. You know, people were saying like it's taking them 90 minutes, 2 hours, or they're busting 60 minutes every time. And I was like, but I was doing the training too, and that wasn't happening. Like I was able to get it 60, maybe 70 minutes, and I was done. Do you remember, like, can you rewind in your mind? Like, do you remember how long the training sessions were taking you?
Yeah, I think they were probably taking me over an hour. I never really rushed through workouts. I think I had a decent amount of time because I was still full-time college. But like, it depends on how you took your time in between. So it would always be the strength, and strength I could probably move through pretty quickly. But then you were setting up for those 3 or 4B, 4D conditionings.
Yeah.
So you have these 4 different exercises that you're doing, and you're setting up, and people are probably trying to figure out what weight they're doing and how they're supposed to flow through it, and looking over things. And that's probably where the time ate up. And then some of those in general took 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what day you are. So that's probably where a lot of it ate up, is that there's still somewhat of a lull or ambiguousness to it. So people didn't know how fast to move along. So that's kind of part of it.
Yeah, and that's, to be honest, I think after Accelerate was over, I kind of took a break and went back to the drawing board, because I processed a lot of data and sent out a lot of surveys for people to just see the overall effectiveness of the program. How can I make this better? And that's something I'm always trying to do in every area of my life, to include Garage Gym Athlete, is like, how can we make this better, and improve it? And so I ended up coming up with this idea of block programming. And so I've written about it. It's in the Garage Gym Athlete book if you want to read like a quick tutorial. But the quick and dirty of it is, I wanted everyone to be able to train an hour or less. That came from surveys. People pretty much had an hour that they could commit to training. And so I was like, okay, we tried 6 blocks in an hour for a while with some athletes that I was training more individualized programming at that time. And they would still bust every time. They would still, like, I'd give them 6 blocks. Oh, one block is 10 minutes. I should probably explain that. But they'd still bust. And so we went down to 5 blocks of training. So what it looks like is we have 5 blocks of training over the course of an hour. And each block is 10 minutes. So 50 minutes worth of movement, training, programming, whatever it is. And that last block is really left for all that other stuff that you're kind of talking about, whether you're checking your phone in between sets because you posted your squat to Instagram and you want to see if someone liked it, or you're checking your email, whatever it is, racking weight, unracking weight. And so then I transitioned to this 5-block schedule, and it started to work out really, really well. And so now everything we program has a block attached to it. So, if you're doing, we normally give like 2-3 blocks sometimes for strength, so you have 30 minutes to get this done. And the best way to look at this is like time capping yourself. This is what I really have to train our athletes on, especially when they're new. And Joe, I'm sure you have to explain this a lot too, is you can't just say, okay, this is 5 blocks, and then be like, well, it took me an hour and 10 minutes. It should be actually impossible because you should time block yourself until you learn how to become more efficient in your training. So an example of that would be is if I gave you a 9-minute AMRAP, as many rounds as possible of burpees, and I gave you one block to get that done, but you you wanted to sweep your floor before you got started, and you actually wanted to do a full 10 minutes, and so you busted the block. Like, it shouldn't be possible to bust the block. You should start a 10-minute timer, and you can't go over. And it takes a lot of time discipline, and you have to move really quickly through your training, but it is the best way to get everything that we're trying to do, because at Garage Gym Athlete, we want to be better at a lot of different things. It's the only way to get it done, and for our athletes to still be, dialed in and seeing results that we want them to see. So I want to get your thoughts on block programming, Joe, or anything that you encounter. You are now probably talking to more athletes than I am, via email. You're always interacting, especially in the Facebook group. So just any of your thoughts on block programming or any tips you can give to athletes.
So yeah, I don't stick to block as much for me because I have a little bit of a looser time, but my wife does. She has to come home and work out during lunch, so she has a set time, and she's usually always the one, like whenever we were on the same track, we just moved off of different tracks. But whenever we were on the same track, like I might still be finishing up my squats, and she's like, okay, we have to start this Metcon by 11:47 in order for me to do the next part, and then I can shower and leave. Like, all right, well, I guess we'll do this then. So she kept pace, and she would map it out, and it really was necessary for her to make sure she can get through everything. And then there's days where if it took a little bit longer to warm up, or strength took a bit longer, or whatever, she might have to use do the abs or something else later in the night because she just couldn't do it. And that happens. It'll happen from time to time, but
sometimes you don't want to rush through your workout that quickly. Like, yeah. I've found out, like, I can get everything done in under an hour and fit in that block, but maybe sometimes if I do have the time, I'm like, what, I want to rest a little extra before this conditioning session because I really want to crush it, or something like that. It just depends on how much time you have and really what you're trying to achieve. And if you can break it up into multiple parts in a day, most of the time that's okay, just depending on how you split it up.
Yeah, those tempo squat days, you sometimes need a little bit more than 2 minutes in between sets to recover. So
yeah, that 2 minutes goes fast on tempo squats. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it works out pretty good for us. I think I've still gotten faster in general. So like yesterday we were talking, and I think I was at like the hour and 10-minute mark, but I was taking my time because there was just so much lifting and I didn't need to push through, but I was still right about to finish around just over an hour mark, and I wasn't pressed or set timers at all. Yeah.
And another thing I like for people to know is this is the framework that we're using because most of our athletes want to get it done in under an hour or an hour or less. But you can scale this out. This is something we teach in our coaching program because I've worked individually with people who have no time constraints. So like very serious athletes who want to train more. And me as a coach and programmer, I don't say, well, I know you're trying to prepare for this, triathlon, but you need to only train 5 blocks a day. No, like their training has to be a little bit more. So I scale training sometimes up to 8 blocks a day, 10 blocks a day, depending on how much time they have, how much recovery we're putting in there. So you can scale it out if you have more time. Like one thing I've been experimenting with behind the scenes, we'll see if this ever hits Garage Gym Athlete. I got to poll our athletes and everything, but I would like to eventually have an endurance track at Garage Gym Athlete and call it Endure, and then just have, whether you want to get better at running, cycling, something a little more specific, but still have that strength and conditioning base that we have. So this is something I've been experimenting with, but I can't get it done in 5 blocks. Like realistically, I cannot make you, an amazing, runner with getting all the strength work in and getting all the running work in. Something has to give a little bit, so it spills over into the blocks, right? And so sometimes I have to go 6, 7, 8 blocks. Sometimes you have to run for 60 minutes. There's just a lot of things if you want to be a true endurance athlete. So if you are endurance and you have more time, you can scale those blocks out. And if we end up launching that track at Garage Gym Athlete, you'll see, but it'll have more blocks, and that'll be more for people who are looking to take it to that next level. But I think it's helped helped our athletes a lot. Kind of gets them in the correct mindset for tackling their training. And I don't know, it's been great.
Just from you mentioning the endurance track, now it's going to come sooner than later because everybody's going to be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds awesome."
We'll see. I mean, this is part of polling our garage gym athletes. If you want to see the endurance track, I've been getting hit up about it more and more lately, and I think it's like, well, because like each cycle we have like a different major and minor, and that's how we program. But right now the shred track has a huge aerobic base. For 95% of our athletes, that's going to be enough aerobic training to see results, to get faster, to get your mile times down, to get stronger. But there's a certain set of the population who wants to be faster at the 10-mile run mark, at the 15-mile run mark, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, if you want to like legitimately race in a half marathon, you're going to need a little bit more aerobic training than this. And I'm talking about race, not complete. I feel like any of our athletes could complete following almost any of our tracks. But if you want to race, be competitive in, it's going to be a little bit more serious. So if you want to see the endurance track, send us an email. Let us know. Hit us up on Instagram, whatever.
Send Jared an email.
Jared at endof3fitness.com. The chances of you incorrectly spelling my name are like 90%, so you most likely won't actually end up emailing me there, but it is Jared. It is Jared at endof3fitness.com if you want to hear more about the endurance track. But I think that's about it, man. I think you got to structure your sessions. I think you're going to mention just prepping for the blocks, right? So I'll let you dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so for our athletes, we have a daily athlete brief that either Jared or I will go through and explain the workout in, a 1 minute, a 60-second to 2-minute video saying, hey, this is what you do, this is what you do.
I'm trying to get those down. Sometimes I do like a 3-minute athlete brief, and I'm like, damn it, I need to get this like 60 seconds where everyone will watch it. But yeah.
Especially if somebody puts in the programming that makes you stumble.
Yeah.
So it's best to sometimes we will watch them the night before if we need to get caught up. My wife, since she travels from work to home, she can listen to them in the car on the way. So it's better to do that ahead of time to know what you're getting into, so that mentally you can prepare like what you need to do. Hopefully your gym is organized. If it's not organized, then get it organized, because if you don't know where anything is, or if you're pulling plates under other plates and stuff like that you need, then you're just going to waste time. But another one that we've gotten down is to be more efficient and purposeful with your warm-up. So we program a warm-up. We set out a recommended warm-up. But if you know that after that certain warm-up, you have other specific things you need to do, you can just sub it out, whatever works best for your warm-up, for your time constraints. I know I have a rower and an air dyne. I know depending on what lift we're doing that day is dependent on which one I get on for 2 minutes or so. And then I know my movements after that and the mobility and the progress I need to do from there. And when I'm grabbing the barbell and starting to do my warm-up sets for the barbell. And if I'm going heavy on squats, I know I'm going to need to do a couple extra sets and some mobility for it. So I just know that about me. So getting your warm-up efficient and down to almost a science is really helpful.
Yeah, we do have the pre-programmed warm-ups, and like me personally, I do specific things too that aren't always the programmed warm-up, because I just know myself really well. Like if there's going to be a squat or a deadlift, there are two things that I do for a warm-up, one of two things that I do for a warm-up that I don't program, because a lot of our athletes don't have a rower and they don't have a reverse hyper. So that one of the things that I'll do is on rowing, if we're doing squats or deadlifts, I'll hop on the rower. I will do 200 meters normal row, 200 meters arms only, 200 meters legs only, and I'll do that 2 times, so 2 rounds of that. And what it does, it gets you warm, gets the blood moving like we want, gets the legs loosened up with the legs only, and then the arms only, since you kind of have straight legs, it really works your lower back a lot more than you would suspect, and gets you really prepped. Now that's one thing. The other thing I do, reverse hyper, just hop on the reverse hyper. There are a bunch of variations of using the reverse hyper, but getting my hips warmed up, getting my lower back warmed up, and things like that. All things I'm doing when I'm when I'm preparing for squat or deadlift. And like I said, things I don't program because not everybody has access to that. Actually, I don't. If I had to count how many of our athletes probably have access to reverse hyper, it's probably like 3.
Yeah,
maybe, maybe. It's not a piece of equipment. I don't even recommend most people get it right off the bat unless you have some sort of back issue or you're just really into reverse hypers like I am. But so you hit on something else there. I was going to tackle, but I can't recall what you were.
With the warm up or organizing your gym.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say athlete briefs are. I think I was gonna go back to athlete briefs just being important to watch. You said you watch them the night before and kind of have the game plan, like.
Sometimes, or even during my warm up, because I always have like a Bluetooth speaker, so I just put it on the brief, and I'll either on the Airdyne or something like that. I listen while I'm getting my heart rate up.
And I think it's so important to it'll either be me or Joe doing the athlete briefs to get the intent of that workout. And I encourage anyone who's following any type of programming to make sure that you understand why the workout was programmed the way it was. Not so you can like understand the science or how the volume or any of that stuff. Just the intent of what we're trying to do. Because sometimes like this is a big issue. I think it was this year. I don't know if it was last cycle or 2 cycles ago. There's almost this argument about kettlebell swings. You remember it was like it was like some guy wrote in and is complaining about us programming American kettlebell swings, which is where the kettlebell goes straight over your head, cuts your body in a straight line. And there's Russian where it's just coming up to your face and then back down. And he was giving us all the stuff about shoulder issues and all that. And it was a very lengthy email. And my response was obviously professional in nature. He's one of our athletes. But I also kind of said, like, dude, all I'm looking for is explosive hips. Like,
yeah.
And your hips are going to open the same way, whether you're doing American or Russian. I don't really care about that part. I don't care how you finish the swing. I care that your hips are really explosive. And I mentioned things like that in the athlete brief. And that's what I want people to know is like, yeah, I didn't care about, I know we put a video for American, but I was, if you listen to the brief, I said, I don't care which one you do, just make sure that your hips are explosive. So that stuff is so important to know, why you're doing what you're doing. Another thing that I do is, like, I use the app for logging my stuff, but I always write everything out on the whiteboard in my garage before I do it, because it's so much easier just to look at that. I don't really like to interact with my phone much during training. There's too many other distracting things that can happen on my phone. So especially if I'm in a time crunch. So I think writing out on the whiteboard either the night before or the morning or just before, warming up and everything helps me a ton. And then I just go back and input all of my results. So I'm still tracking like, okay, how much weight did I squat that day? How fast did I do this workout? So on and so forth. I think that's another great tip.
We don't have a whiteboard because our gym's outside. So right now you go out into our backyard and we have children's playground chalk and we just write on the ground. So you go outside and you see random like pairs of letters stacked on top of each other and then tally marks just anywhere and everywhere. So it looks very strange to the untrained eye, but yeah. That's
funny. But my very first garage gym, before I got a whiteboard in there, I did that on my plyometric box. Like there's some pictures of my old plyometric box. Probably there's just like writing everywhere, like workouts and how long the time took and all that stuff. But yeah, that's exactly how we were getting it done. All right, cool, man. You have anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, I think that concludes episode 1 of season 5. Looking forward to bringing more to you guys this season. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff. If for some reason you do have the problem, which is not being signed up for our training, I call it a problem because it is a problem, right, Joe? Like, you sign up for our training. You can go to garagegymathlete.com, start a free trial, learn more about what we're doing a lot of cool stuff. These seasons kind of kick off with cycles, and one really cool thing that we're doing this cycle are Garage Gym Athlete accelerators. And these accelerators pair up with your track. So we have the shred track, more body composition stuff. We have hard to kill track, more strength and conditioning, and then strength, which is strength-based, and then we also have no gear. So we have accelerators for all these tracks to help you see more progress on those tracks, because the programming is proven, it's effective, like we got that down, good to go on the training side of things. And so the accelerators help you on that other piece, so mental, nutrition, all that stuff, to really help you accelerate your results and amplify the results you could see on Garage Gym Athlete training. So a lot of cool stuff. If you are one of our athletes, and you're listening to this, then you already have access to one of those. If you're not, you can get access. But other than that, guys, thank you. Welcome to Season 5. Let's get into some more great info. See ya.